Good morning. 6,155 days down, 15 days left to go with students. Today, I'm going to start talking a little bit about football. Yeah, so I got this job coaching football. Remember I told you it was out, in the mountains, and I show up the first day. This is my first clue about how things are probably going to go. I had went out and bought some coaching shorts, those old polyester coaching shorts that everybody used to wear. If you don't remember, go back and look in some pictures in the 70s and 60s. So anyway, I thought, well, that's what coaches wear, so I bought a pair. I show up the first day. I got on my nylon coaching shorts, and I noticed that none of the other coaches had nylon coaching shorts. Apparently, between the time I had been in high school and went through college, those had gone out of style, so they're calling me, Vince Lombardi and laughing at me and stuff. So that was the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened, I noticed that a lot of the guys didn't know how to put their pads on. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird because, you start playing football when you're about 6 or 7 years old. And, and by the time you get to high school, you've been playing for 10 years, so you should know how to put your pads on. Well, I found out that at that school in that county, they didn't have a rec program. So none of those kids even played football until they were, in middle school or high school. And, everywhere else in the state of Georgia, they're playing for years before they get to middle school or high school. So that was an indication things probably weren't going to go all that great. And the third thing that happened, they had this guy they were kind of all talking about and what a great athlete he was, and they were so happy to, finally get him out there for football. And man, this kid, when he was in middle school, he was really, he quit last year. So they were all excited about having him back. And so we were taking everybody down to the field to start practice, and everybody's going out there, and he runs up and tells one of the coaches, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. Can I go, before we get down there? And the guy's like, yeah, go ahead. So he goes back to the field house, and he never showed up. He quit. He didn't even make it down to the first practice. So that wasn't a very good sign either when that happened. And then when we got down there, like I said, I was obviously not a coaching expert. I barely knew what I was doing. But I noticed pretty quick that we weren't very athletic. We didn't look very good. We didn't look all that good in pads. They talk about, the eye test. We didn't pass the eye test. So, and in coaching, that's, you never go, and tell anybody, well, we're not very good. You don't do that. You say, well, I didn't do a very good job of coaching. And, and then if you win, you brag on the kids and talk about how good they are. But if you lose, it's your fault. So, I knew going into that year that, it was going to be our fault because you could tell immediately we weren't going to win. And another thing I noticed pretty quick was that our guys really didn't like to come to practice a whole lot. They didn't particularly like playing football, and I can't say I blame them. But, it was always hard to get them there. And then when deer season would start every year, a lot of them would quit because they like to hunt, and they like to do that a lot more than they like coming to football practice. And we just couldn't get them to show up half the time. So that was always a struggle the whole time I was there. So then after 4 years, I think one year we won one game, maybe tied one. One year we won a couple games, and then there were 2 years where we didn't win any games at all. So at the end of that 4 years, I made a decision, and I did what would you have done there? I mean, what would a normal person do there after 4 years of that? I decided that what I needed to do was become even more dedicated to football, and I needed to find a job somewhere else where I could be, even more into football than I was already, and have a more important part in football, and commit to that. So obviously that had an impact on the rest of my career for several years to come, and we'll kind of talk about that as we go. But that's how I got started. Good start.